Ladies and gentlemen, many things in life are not so obvious. But there is one thing in particular in everyone's life that is super obvious, that is actually not a subject even up for any debate. It's just as factual as it can get. It's of course a metronome mark. Why do I say that? Because a metronome mark is just a frequency per minute. But how many times do you see musicians struggle with that? For the simple reason that we today accept the single beat reading. That's the modern reading. You have quarter note 60, you take one tick for the quarter note. That's the modern reading. We call that single beat here. And when you take that, of course, many tempos become humanly impossible. Why do I say all of that? I came across a channel of this Mr. Roberto Prosseda, who is actually a great pianist. Before you say like, yeah, we picked some second-ranked pianist. No, this is a first-ranked pianist. If you see the CDs he recorded for which companies, recording labels. So we're not talking about Mr. Nobody. This is someone who's played a lot of classical music, the greatest stuff for a major label, and not only on modern piano, but also on Fortepiano. And this video will be about Allegro Assai. We're going to watch fragments of a video that Roberto uploaded about explaining why Allegro Assai is actually not more Allegro, so faster than Allegro, but Allegro ma non troppo, and the reasons why he is, well, kind of inventing that theory. And then at the end of that video, he's going to make an incredible point. And you want to watch that because he's talking about the difference between the modern piano and the Fortepiano. Again, he recorded music on both. And this great pianist will not make the case for the Fortepiano to be the faster instrument. And it's super important because the Fortepiano is served time and time again as the solution for the crazy fast metronome marks. Well, apparently, it's not. We're gonna dive in all of that, also feature you a part of recording that Alberto, my partner in crime, here our Italian guy, made already of the Opus 2 number 3, the last movement. So we're gonna check all of that out and that good stuff. But before we do that, I want to get your attention for this. This is the index. This is the content of my notation course. I've been talking about this notation course quite extensively over the last few months, and it's finally ready. We are now right before the 16th of December, which is Beethoven's birthday. This course is part until the 16th of December of the full Beethoven experience, which is not only the full box of our CDs, so the full symphonies, 10 CDs, the booklet, the listening guide. There is a lot of more stuff into that, but now also the notation course is going to get a place in the full Beethoven experience, but only until December 16th you can buy this complete package for the price it currently has. Why? Because this is an insane course. The current price for the full Beethoven experience is just like crazy compared to the value that this course is going to give you. You will have 75 videos. There are shortcuts. You can get through the course in 40 minutes, in 8 hours. And this course also will keep you come back for the next 3 or 6 months. You will have a workbook of about 100 pages with overview, tables. And overall, what this course teaches you is to find a tempo that is close to what the composer intended just based on reading the score. We're gonna dive into all the symphonies by Beethoven, every movement, taking the information that this composer, Beethoven, gave, put that on boards, on tables, connected to Italian tempo words, read what the notation is, the fastest structural note value, harmonic density progression, and take all of that information, put it in a basket, connect it to the metronome mark, listen to the result so that you can open a score, go to the overview tables and just see in what range that tempo originally could have been. This is an essential course, I believe, that any teacher, any musician, whether you play the Sonata Facile by Mozart, or you play the third piano concerto by Rachmaninoff, or you play the harpsichord with music of Bach, or clavichord with music of Bach, this course will teach you reading that music. Beethoven was in the middle of all of that. He projected the entire 19th century. Tchaikovsky was still using the principles that Beethoven had in mind. And Beethoven, of course, was rooted in the 18th century. With our focus on this, you cover almost 2 centuries of music. And so after the 16th of December, this will be a standalone course that will be more expensive than the full Beethoven experience combined. Therefore, until the 16th of December midnight, you can still buy the complete full Beethoven package for the current price with this insane course as part of that. I'm proud of it, so check it out. Okay, without further ado, we're going to listen to Mr. Roberto Prosseda, what he had to say about the Allegro Assai. It says WIM's video November 14, 2024. That's today. The video is in Italian. You get some closed captions on screen, sometimes a little hard to follow, and I've seen that the translation is not always 100%, doesn't matter. I will interrupt the video and of course we're going to talk about and we will dive into detail more as we go. So for now, let's just check it out.
Allegro assai. Cosa vuol dire questa indicazione che spesso troviamo nelle musiche di Beethoven, di Clementi, di Haydn e di altri compositori? Noi da italiani diremmo che allegro assai vuol dire molto allegro, cioè più allegro del normale. Ma siamo sicuri, in realtà l'avverbio assai deriva dal latino ad satis, che vuol dire a sufficienza, abbastanza, non vuol dire tanto. Anzi, semmai vuol dire tanto quanto basta. QB, come si dice nelle ricette di cucina, allegro QB potremmo chiamarlo. È vero che l'argomento è abbastanza, come dire, discusso, i musicologi non sono tutti d'accordo, ne parlavo con John Rink che invece è d'accordo con me sul fatto che quasi sempre allegro assai vuol dire non tanto allegro, come dire allegro ma non troppo, quanto basta appunto. E chiaramente dipende molto dal contesto, no? Quindi è importante sempre contestualizzare l'indicazione anche sulla scrittura del brano in cui si trova. Nel caso...
Okay, so the reason... Yeah, you have to stick with me. The reason why this pianist is actually searching for an alternative reading of explanation, so to say, of the Allegro Assai is because of the tempo. The tempo that we take today, not always like with the intention of like coming to that single beat metronomization. Czerny gives 120 and 116 for the dotted quarter note, and Moschles gives always 116 for the dotted quarter note. In spite of the fact that many musicians will say like, but I don't play according to the metronome marks, it's the metronome marks in general that drive that speed. Here is a pianist, he notices, he smells something that like, guys, there is something off here. When you play that in a very fast tempo, he's going to demonstrate that, then it doesn't make any sense. It becomes like a machine gun, you know. There is no musical, there is no content, there is nothing to really appreciate here. But the strange thing, on the other hand, is I'm not interested in what people like in the year 0 in the Roman Empire thought about the word assai. And I'm not interested in how people in the kitchen use the word assai in Italy. I'm interested in how is assai described in the 19th century or in the early 19th century in treatises that we can read that are around Beethoven. Because that's the only thing that you should be looking for if you want to have information that really tells you what Allegro assai is in that time. Like Julius Caesar is not going to explain to you what Allegro assai is. I'm sorry, but it's like the truth, right? And so we don't need to go far for that. I've often shared Karl Czerny with you, so I thought like let's take another source. This is Hummel. So Hummel, super interesting piano method, and also very widespread over Europe. It was simultaneously published in Paris, in Wien, so Vienna, and in London. So 3 languages. I mean, these people had some influence, and so in black and white, you have the entire section of Allegro. Allegro assai literally is the fastest Allegro you have. Allegro vivace, agitato, furioso, molto, assai. Here are the slow Allegros. Allegro ma non troppo. One suggestion of his friend, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Allegro assai, without an exception, is the highest Allegro tempo, or close to the highest Allegro tempo that we have. And so, instead of looking to the meaning of assai 2000 years ago, you can just go to historical sources and see what people around Beethoven had to say about Allegro assai. It shouldn't surprise us that assai is the fastest Allegro we have. Beethoven was no exception. But I get the point of Roberto. We're going to listen to the reason, the argument why this pianist in particular wants a slower version of an Allegro assai. But there is another reason that he doesn't give, and maybe he's not even fully aware of that. Cannot blame him. We see a tendency of playing faster and faster and faster. He's seeing that as well. He's seeing his colleagues. He sees every musical society. We're still in the 19th century. There's nothing changed. Still in this progress, like louder and faster, and driven by the metronome marks. Make no mistakes. When people say the metronome marks don't matter, how dare you speak about something like so redundant? No, without these metronome marks, we wouldn't be pushing ourselves so much. And that's the double standard. When you talk about them, people will say like, yeah, but it's my tempo. I feel the tempo like that. But when you go slower like we do in our performances, and people would say like, can you not read metronome marks? It's here, right? And you want to go there. So, of course, even when you're not aware of that, like in this case, I'm pretty sure of that, you see that everything is pushed. Everybody influences each other. Historically informed performance practice, mainstream, it doesn't matter. It's all in the same boat. And then you have musicians do things like, okay, but yeah, probably they're right. Probably they're right. Like they go, like, why would I be right in my instinct that this music should be played slower? And by no stretch of the imagination, this is a slow pianist. Absolutely not. But he sees that it doesn't make that the music comes in a territory where it doesn't make any sense at all anymore. I'm going to listen to that. But of course, then you want to find an exception for the Allegro assai. Like, okay, for Beethoven, probably it was Allegro ma non troppo. And then there's my justification to get the piece played slower. But of course, that doesn't rescue you, because there is a metronome mark, there is the definition of Allegro assai. So let's listen now to the reason, the argument, and also some demonstrations. There's a lot we can say about that.
Anche sulla scrittura del brano in cui si trova. Nel caso, ad esempio, dell'ultimo tempo della sonata opera numero 3 di Beethoven, Allegro assai, secondo me, senza dubbio vuol dire allegro non troppo, cioè quanto basta. Quindi c'è il senso dell'allegro, è un movimento comunque rapido, non certo lento o trascinato, ma non è troppo spinto. Perché non lo è? In realtà perché la scrittura stessa ce lo dice. Eppure...
So now he is... That's a mistake that many people make. You think of a solution, you try to find some connections that make sense. Hey, assai meant in the Roman Empire time, like, okay, this, so maybe for Beethoven it was the same. And you could actually add, like, Beethoven studied Latin and Greek as well. So it was a hobby of his. So there you have another argument. And then this contextualization, which is not a contextualization because you take the thing out of context, you then put that in your own mind as like a solution to a problem, and then that solution, which becomes like a fact in the next page or in the next fragment here, of course, solves a lot of problems. But the problem is, of course, that what you just figured out is not a fact. It's just flat out wrong. It didn't exist.
Noi abbiamo nell'orecchio tante incisioni di questa sonata che sono tutte spinte dal punto di vista virtuosistico, quindi diventa quasi una palestra di chi sa fare gli accordi staccati, veloci.
This is someone of the inside. For many musicians, it's become just a virtuosic exercise. How to make chords quick. Then he says like that cannot be the reason of why Beethoven wrote this. This is impossible. Yes, it's impossible. That of course was not what Beethoven had in mind, but it became that. We have, by the way, 19th century sources that will be featured in our book, The Fixing the Beethoven Mistake, that say like, okay, why would you demonstrate your newly acquired virtuosity with pieces of Beethoven? It was not meant like that. And that's exactly the same.
In scala o chi sa snocciolare queste semicrome in maniera più sgranata e veloce possibile.
There's microphones, I don't think he said, but anyway.
Possibile. In realtà qui Beethoven scrive piano e le sestine sono legate quasi sempre, non sempre, ma quasi. Quindi non pensava ad una sonorità brillante, una sonorità semmai appunto legata, morbida. E poi c'è un problema, che se noi attacchiamo questo inizio come siamo abituati a fare, a sentirlo, quindi molto veloce, a questa velocità qui, dovremmo, per mantenere questo tempo, suonare le sestine a questa velocità, quindi rendendo di fatto incomprensibili non soltanto le note, ma anche le articolazioni, che sarebbero...
So we're going to listen to Alberto. In fact, let's not do it like that. Let's pull him up. Alberto here. So whenever a musician here demonstrates the clarity you want, you go in a tempo that's very close to whole beat. Here's a fragment of that Alberto played. It's a shock. I get it. It's a shock. This Allegro assai is a shock for many people. You have to listen to the entire movement. But then anyways. So there you hear the groups of notes, the baskets of notes, as in the translation was said. Okay, let's continue. By the way, he demonstrated already. I think he's going to demonstrate this again in the too fast tempo, and I have to say something about that.
È a 6, no? Diventa una sorta di mitragliata di note veloci.
Yeah. So if you go that fast, you actually have a machine gun like sound or notes. I'm going to speed up Alberto's recording here, double speed, and there you have your machine gun. Yeah, machine gun sounds. I mean, when we talk about tempo to people, nobody would say that because they know, even if they think that, they wouldn't say that because once you start acknowledging the problem connected to a single beat reading of the metronome, then of course the question is of the moderator, and then what's your solution then? Have like a freestyle tempo rubato all over the place, like deviate from the given tempo in bar 4 or 5 or bar 2. A metronome mark is not actually an accurate tempo indication. Where are the quotes for that? So you can open like this Pandora's box for, yeah, but do we have a problem then? Oh, that's interesting. Where do I read that? Nowhere. Only in our book you will read that. And so if you have a problem, what's the solution? We know what the solution is, right? But then he arrives at a very, very interesting point. This sonata, this movement is famous for something that he's going to talk about right now, this passage.
Successivo, battuta per esempio, 31 e seguenti.
These notes in the left hand. This is so tricky. Everyone who plays this piece will recognize it immediately. You have a third on the second 16th. That note will blow up. What pianists will do, also Roberto, they will add pedal here. And now you can say in that time, the time where Beethoven wrote this sonata, there was not yet a habit of indicating pedal. No, that's true. It was for a reason, because the pedal was used as an effect, not here. This is a tempo indicator. This is Beethoven actually saying like, first of all, this is an effect. But secondly, Beethoven saying like, in my tempo, in the tempo that I have in mind, this is no problem. Well, not easy. On the fortepiano, this range on the fortepiano blows up so easily. So we will listen also to Alberto's recording in an instant, but let's just continue for a few seconds here.
Che se invece suonassimo al tempo, avremmo una mitragliata di note che diventa tutto farraginoso, ma non certo né piano né espressivo, e tantomeno sforzato, che vuol dire, ripeto, con uno sforzo espressivo, non vuol dire dando una botta aggressiva su ogni nota che è sforzata, altrimenti avremo... E questo non ha senso, diventa parossistico, insomma, solo...
Yeah, that makes no sense. That's what I actually also think. So let's listen to Alberto now, and then you will see that playing without a pedal here on the fortepiano is extremely difficult, but the transparency you get is just insane. Let's just listen. But if you go on YouTube, you still have my recording there. I recorded a piece in our series. We recorded the 232 sonatas, Alberto and I, so a few years back, I think in 2020, 2021. And so this was on my list, but this is extremely difficult. And the way Alberto controls this on that piano, on our piano, shows what a talented pianist he is. But let's now come back to the final point I want to make here in this video. As I said at the beginning, we are talking here about a pianist that just like say a virtuoso player of today on a modern piano. And also he recorded quite a lot of stuff on Fortepiano. Just go to his Wikipedia page, it's pretty impressive. And so he has a very good understanding of the differences between a modern piano, a modern grand, and a Fortepiano. And surprise, surprise, when people are not talking to me, then suddenly the Fortepiano is a slow instrument. Let's listen.
Suonate, studiate, incise su un fortepiano, vi posso assicurare che il fortepiano, lo strumento...
So it's not engraved. It's of course he made a recording on a fortepiano. That's what the text should say.
È lui a suggerire di prendere un tempo troppo veloce, anche perché non avendo il sistema meccanico di ripetizione rapida delle note, quando abbiamo quindi da ripetere questi sì e poi do, se lo suono non avrei le note che suonano, non ripeterebbero i sì e i do.
Do you copy? So even these patterns of note, the note that is not even repeated but that should be repeated after a few other notes, the fortepiano is not fast enough to do that. And now many fortepianists will say, and especially people who've never played on the fortepiano will say like, yeah, but that's all nonsense. We know. Yeah, just try it. I'm super happy with this because whenever we talk about tempo, whenever you talk about tempo, whenever the issue of tempo is brought up, you will hear zero musicians. Now, zero is maybe a big word, but not a lot of musicians who have the courage to say the fortepiano is a slower instrument compared to the grand piano, the Steinway, let's say. In our book, Fixing the Beethoven Mistake, we will cover contributions also by Skowronek, by other people who actually want to make the case for the fortepiano to be faster in playing repeated notes compared to the modern grand, which is something that is like, how do you even start to explain why that is not possible? The reason why they do that, of course, is that if the fortepiano was a slower instrument than the Steinway, well, then we have a gigantic problem. Because on the Steinway, we have enough demonstrated that these tempi that we claim to be historically correct, these single beat readings of the metronome marks do not make any sense. And so the fortepiano therefore has to be the faster instrument because we can play faster on that instrument while not demonstrating it, by the way. And so the publications that actually points in the direction of the fortepiano as the solution for the metronome marks, there are a lot of them. I don't hear the story that what Roberto is actually sharing here, saying like a fortepiano, guys, I mean, what I just said about the allegro assai meaning a slower tempo, that's proven by the fortepiano. Just try it. Only this, you won't, I mean, we're not even talking about these crazy passages in the left hand, just, I mean, no way of leaning your fingers into the key because these notes will not sound anymore. There is no repetition. There is no aftertouch. And I'm very happy with this because that's the truth. That's like one of the major things. Every repeated note of every Czerny etude is impossible on a fortepiano for which he wrote it. I've even heard some people say, and also on my in my comment boxes say like, yeah, but the Erard double escapement was already invented. So Czerny might have written those pieces for the Erard. I mean, yeah, that's why he played on a Streicher. And by the way, I have an Erard piano at home. Don't think that's a Steinway. That repetition, that double escapement is absolutely not as, I would say, as, it's maybe, it leads you to a different way of playing, but it's not as effective as at a modern piano and certainly at a modern grand. Again, disclaimer, this is not personal by any stretch of the imagination. I do not blame Roberto here to make a point about the allegro assai that actually is invalid. I do not blame him. things can close around you in a way that makes sense. Allegro assai, but we have assai and an ultra, like in Latin it was this, and when we use it in the kitchen, and my friend actually said also that it was allegro non troppo. So allegro ma non troppo is allegro assai, and from there you start. It's so easy to do that. So I'm not blaming him for that, but it's good material to show that in real life, daily life of musicians, that the things that we talk about on this channel and that we research and that we are doing this kind of stuff, that's something that plays a major role, much more than probably many of you who are watching right now do realize. And it makes me happy because I'm convinced that once we have published everything, also the 30 follow-up CDs for the complete keyboard works, and our book, and this notation course, and we bring everything together, then there will be more and more people that say like, listen, I've been thinking about this so long. That has to be the solution. And that from that moment, this will like expand very quickly. I hope. Thanks to you watching here and still watching me rambling about this Allegro assai of the Opus 2 number 3. If you're still here, leave it in the comment boxes. I will give it your comment a little heart. A big shout out also to my patrons as always. There's a Patreon page. Check it out. There are podcasts. There's a lot of cool content that you really will enjoy. I can promise you that. And by being a patron, by becoming a member of our Patreon site, you also support the things that we are doing. As for instance, allowing me to record a video here on a Thursday afternoon, which it is right now. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching. We see each other very soon again. Bye.